This is Greg Befidis, the founder and chairman of the Posse List. I'm here at the Georgetown Law Center, where we're at the conference Law Firm Evolution. Is it a brave new world, or is it really going to be business as usual? And my guest this afternoon is David Galbenski, who is Chief Executive Officer and President of Lumen Legal, a company I've known for quite a while.
Sure.
For the audience that doesn't know you, can you just give us a little bit background about the company?
No, absolutely. It's a company I founded 17 years ago, so consider myself somewhat a visionary in the flexible staffing model. And we've grown from a single city organization to covering the United States and the globe, really aligning people with the right resource in the right place at the right time, performing the right task at the right cost, which I think is ultimately what everyone is looking at here as the legal services industry transforms, is aligning those resources with the cost structure.
How big is your legal staffing part of the company?
Yeah, it's a significant piece. About 95% of our business is done in the legal staffing component, and then about 5% of our business is done in more of the traditional legal consulting, where we'll actually come in and help organizations re-engineer how they're delivering legal services.
Would you say, for the contract attorneys that are in our audience, where do you see the busiest areas of the country, or do you see it pretty busy across the entire country?
Yeah, we're seeing it. Obviously, the major legal centers are starting to pick up again in opportunities for contract lawyers. But an interesting phenomenon we're seeing is, as people are looking at different places, at different cost structures, we're seeing those document review locations change into lower cost geographies as well.
So, some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing people that would have traditionally done reviews in Washington, D.C. or New York, moving them to lower cost markets in the Midwest, simply because the supply and demand is there. And that's really what we're seeing, because people are thinking place is less relevant, and they can bring people along in that way.
So it's more of what we've been talking about in the Posse List as far as inshoring or farm shoring, less of the Indian LPO, even though that's out there, but what you're seeing a greater trend toward this concept of domestic inshoring.
We certainly are. We certainly are, just because the cost structure has changed. So we're seeing in some markets that the fully loaded cost of a domestic contract attorney is similar to the fully loaded cost of someone doing it offshore. And that's just the fluid marketplace that we're seeing out there.
One of the things at the dinner last night, in which Richard Susskind, who obviously, had we listened to him 5 years ago, would be in a much better position, talked about was the fact that there's going to be a lot of opportunities, a lot more opportunities for various legal service industries. What are other takeaways you've seen at this conference as far as things that have kind of hit you?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is that I think the industry is ready for action. I think all the attendees I've talked to have said, yeah, a lot of these concepts we are all aligned behind, but we're now seeing this year being more of a tipping point, if you will, to turn those ideas into significant action. So that would be takeaway number one. Takeaway number two is the global nature of legal services, and that we don't necessarily have to just look at it from a US or UK perspective. We need to look at it from Asia, China, India, and see how that's going to impact this global legal services marketplace, as the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, have a substantial portion of the world GDP. I think they'll have a greater influence on how legal services are delivered globally. So those would be the two things, and I think it was a great diverse crowd, from academics to corporate counsel to law firms. It's been fantastic.
It has been. I mean, all elements of the legal community have been here. One of the things Richard talked about last night, which I want to ask you a question about, he had mentioned the fact that in the beginning in the legal services industry, we saw legal service providers obviously going directly for law firms, and that's changing now as they seek out the actual corporations. Your business has moved akin to what he was talking about?
Absolutely. Over our history of our organization, we've traditionally served the corporate legal market, because they're the ones that are impacting change in the legal service delivery model. Of course, we work with law firms that are re-engineering their models, but certainly we see the corporations driving the industry going forward, because I think everyone's using three lenses that all entrepreneurs look at on our industry, which is, how do we deliver services better, faster, and cheaper? And I think the key focus right now in legal services is on faster and cheaper. And that is really no different than what any corporation looks like in their entire enterprise. They're now just focusing that mentality on legal services.
Do you see Lumen Legal expanding in anything new, or just or getting bigger in certain areas, or?
Yes, certainly we will continue to align the right resources with the needs. So if there are needs in project managers, process efficiency expert, other things that are traditionally non-lawyers but now may be called upon to perform legal tasks, I would see us continuing to meet that need, absolutely. And as an entrepreneurial company, we react to the marketplace, so we will continue to look at different pricing models for our services, as well as different niches inside the industry that we can bring our wealth of experience over 17 years to the industry. And we're constantly looking at our business model and what's next.
Great. David, thank you for taking the time with us today.
Hey, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.